Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with fellow educators, advocates, and changemakers. I'm truly excited to be moderating today's session, a topic that's very close to my heart, making geography more accessible for ESL learners. Have you ever tried to explain a glacier or monsoon or plate tectonics to someone who's still learning English? Teaching geography to secondary ESL learners is not just about maps and mountains, it's about building bridges across their language, culture, and comprehension. Geography is a subject filled with layers of data and interpretation. But when English is not just a student's first language, those layers can quickly become barriers instead of building blocks. Let me introduce myself. I'm Sumya Sharif and I'll be moderating today's session. Today's discussion will focus on scaffolding strategies, digital tools, and inclusive planning that make geography more accessible to ESL learners. Today's discussion brings together three incredible educators who will share practical strategies, tools, and reflection from their own classrooms, all aimed at helping our students assess to rich and challenge the world of geography. We are joined by three distinguished educators, guests, who bring deep insights and a classroom experience. To Ms. Deepa Shah, Inclusion Head, Ms. Priyanshu Malik, HOD of Social Studies, and Ms. Atika Mananza, Assessment Head. We would be honored if you could kindly begin by introducing yourself to the session. Ms. Deepa, you can introduce.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, panelists. My name is Deeba, and I'm head of inclusion, and I'm in UAE practicing from last 19 years, and I started my career in 1999 in India, and I did my studies in psychology, and I have a passion for this field. So I'm blessed that I've been working with students of determination for a long time, almost more than 2 decades. I started my career in a specialized center, which was only for learning disabled students. So I was there trained on job how to use the tools, how to assess the students, how to understand what is the learning barrier for them. I was lucky to use the tools and assessments for different type of learners. There I got to know how to develop IP, which means individual education plan. It was only that time I was only working for learning disabled students. But as soon as I joined Dubai, I got the opportunity to work in an inclusive schools, and I started my career here in 2006. And I got the opportunity to develop a department, and I was surprised that time that every school was supposed to have a special education department to support the students at that time, which was very new. After that, we got the framework from the ministry and from various sources, and then we got to know how to implement the guidelines. And then we got more training, hands-on training to support the students, which brings ESL and EAL students also, which was not given that much importance that time. So although ESL and EAL doesn't come under student of determination category, but they also need support because they have a barrier in learning. So now I'm learning how to support them. I collaborate with my team and just I find more ways. Now the text tools are there. So many things have come up. So we are learning every day how to support the ESL learners. So this is my journey till now.
Lord, ma'am, it's Lord. Ms. Priyanshu? Ms. Priyanshu, ma'am, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. I don't know from which part of the world you are attending this webinar. I am Priyanshu Malik, and I'm the head of the department from DPS Dubai. And I'm in this teaching profession for past 15 years and working with DPS for past 5 years and masters in geography. And basically, I have dedicated my career to make the subject more engaging, more meaningful, and more relevant for the students. So at DPS, I am leading a committed team of the educators and working to bring geography alive through the more real life examples, because I believe that geography is one subject where we teach, but if we are connecting it with the real life, then the students' learning experience is much, much better. Instead of just telling them the stories that we are talking about the mountains, just connect it with the real life, and you will see the magic in your life, in your classes actually.
It's
So
very true.
yes. So this is my journey, because I being teaching in India, but it was a very short period of time, only and 2 years, but more experiences with the UAE. For past 15 years, I'm teaching here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Ms. Atika Mananza, you just introduce yourself. Your mic is off. Your mic is
Hey,
off. Yeah,
yes, yes. Good day,
perfect.
everyone. My name is Atika Manaza, and I'm currently serving as the head of assessments in Truth Global School, which is a school in Dubai, which is a new school which has just started 3 years back. And we are still in the formation, and we're still building the team here. And though we are a very small school, but we have a lot of ESL learners here. And previously also I've worked as a social studies coordinator, and I have been a social studies teacher, and I bring in 15 years of experience in this field in CBSE and international curriculum schools. So this experience has given me the first-hand insight into challenges of ESL learners that they face in a content-rich subject like geography. So, over the years, I've collaborated with teachers to design inclusive assessment framework that not only aligns with the curriculum standards, but also supports the language and the language development. So, my work focuses on ensuring assessment drive learning and providing opportunities for all the students to succeed. So where assessment is just not the measure of knowledge, but it also helps in understanding the concepts and helps in teaching and learning. And I'm truly excited to be a part of this panel and looking forward to discuss how we can scaffold complex geographical concepts in a way that both accessible and empowering for our multilingual students.
Definitely, ma'am. You all given a very good, lot of experience which you've shared. Thank you all. Let's begin the concept. Ms. Priyanshu, let's start with you. Could you share some specific sentence frames or academic starters you use in geography to help ESL students express their complex ideas?
As I have told in my introduction also, that if we,
Yeah,
instead
yeah.
of teaching the geographical concepts in a text heavy mode, if we connect it with the real life, we are making the students' life easy. So again, instead of going in the theoretical background, I would like to give an example straight away, coming on example, because many people are attending and they will relate it to that how we can connect it, the geography with the real life. So when we suppose an example that we want students to describe a process or a phenomena. So the example or the sentence what we will be framing for the students, the process of desertification begins when the overgazing happened in a dry areas, and this led to a loss of vegetation and the soil erosions. So here actually the students are coming and getting to know that what is the process and the phenomena, that why there is a lot of desert and why the erosion activity is happening and why there is a less vegetation in that particular area. Again, when we are asking students to analyze or interpret the data or the map, so we can give another sentence that according to the climate map, we can see that the most rainfall occurs near the coastal areas and because of moisture from the ocean. Again, we are connecting through the example or with the through the sentence that the climate is changing. There is a rainfall in the most areas, but why it is happening? Because that area is near the coastal region or near the ocean. So this is basically, making the students' life easy. And again, in the form of when we are teaching in UAE or in any other area where uh, uh, the settings are not according to the students or they are not able to understand, because again, if we take an example of UAE, it hardly rains in UAE. So then again, we can ask them to compare the desert region and the Amazon rainforest, where we can ask them that how two settings are more, why the Amazon rainforest are more diverse in nature or having a more rainfall as compared to the desert regions. So they can
Right.
actually connect with the real life examples. That's
And
it.
that's very practical strategy, Miss. Every student wants to know the real life connections. Simply we are teaching, we are explaining, or that concept you are giving, they are not really interested to listen. When you give the practical one, when you show that real life examples or real life connections of the pictures or anything, then the people are very interested, shows very interest to learn. So thank you, ma'am. I can already think of
So
few
I think
of the
I would also like to add one point here. To build the geographical thinking and the geographical concepts, we have also started something called environmental case study, where children came up with stories. So I am writing a story as a river, especially for the
oh,
EAL students, where the difficult words and the difficult vocabulary becomes a challenge, where simply like you become a river, you write a story about that, about yourself and maybe a farmer in a drought area. So these simple basic activities will enhance their understanding of geographical thinking and will also help their language development, collaborating that
Definitely,
with writing
definitely.
skills.
Yes, completely agree with Miss Atika. And here I would
yeah.
like to add one more thing, as Miss Atika has given an example and it's outstanding example. Yesterday, just it's a recent thing that we were giving the observation, and during the observation, I was teaching them, the wind patterns, that how the wind is eroding and what kind the different landforms are formed by the wind. So I have given one activity where they have to make the traveling brochure, and they have to the traveling brochure should be very attractive so that the tourists will come and see those landforms. So
Right.
students, you will not imagine that the students have come up with fantastic ideas where they are using the vocabulary, where
Hmm.
that these many dirhams you have to spend, and we are giving this offer. So along with the concept that because of the erosion these landforms are being formed, they have the concept of marketing. So here we have connected the another subject as well, and they are getting the vocabulary that how they can attract the tourist.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
Perfect.
very
Many
nice.
examples I'm learning from your people. It's very
Yeah.
good. Let's now hear from Ms. Deepa to the related to this point. In your role as an inclusion head, how does universal design for learning support ESL students in grasping both language and geography content?
Okay, so this is subject specification with geography. Although I am a head of inclusion, so I just meet the teachers and tell them how to accommodate a child if it's an ESL learner, EAL learner, because universal design of learning helps all sort of learners in the classroom. So if it is a MAHALA child or a SOD, ESL, EAL, ELL, so all these students can be supported by the universal design of learning, which is a big concept. Scaffolding is there. So what I do is, and what I have seen from my practices is that you have to first do the baseline. I encourage the teachers to do the baseline and to understand the data of the class. So you have to understand if it's an ESL, or if the ESL, how many ESL students are there and how they can support them. So whether they are visual learners or they are kinesthetic, what type of learners they are. And based on that, they can develop the accommodation or the tools in the classroom. And I feel geography is one of the subject which according to me is very the students are more interested in this subject, because you can actually do a lot of things in geography. For example, if it's a visual thing, nowadays there are so many things which you can use for visual learners. And for simple thing, like if you change or you convert the text into PDF, and you can use OCR. So once you know that
Yeah.
OCR is there, and if you want, if like Priyanshu saying that if they don't know the ESL, what they struggle is they don't know the language, they don't know, maybe they know in their own language. So if they are visual learners, you
Mm.
can incorporate OCR in that. So they know, okay, if they are talking about desert, they can see the picture of the desert. So the moment they click on that word, the picture comes up. So in this way, the student can learn through pictures. There are many
Mm.
ways. If they are maybe they are good listeners, and they can they just the PDF can have an opportunity for the child just to listen, and when they listen they can answer using bilingual dictionary, which is now we are helping the students to use bilingual dictionary, because this is one of the accommodations given in the board examination. So the EL or ESL students can use this provisions in the examinations. There are many ways of UDL which we can use and incorporate in the lessons according to the topic. Hands-on activity, making projects, all these things engage the learner. So if the students are engaged and motivated, what I feel is they
Yeah.
will learn the concept. And geography is a very loving subject, and students are always loving, because they can see things, they can practice making project. So UDL design really help ESL learners also. And when they are peered, they have a good peer support, they can learn the vocabulary also. So UDL really plays an important role when we are doing helping the ESL students.
Also would like to add on in Miss Deepa's what she has shared. Also, I think to help such kind of students which are struggling with the language, in the beginning of the class, when the teacher know that we are introducing the new topic, we can pick out the difficult words from the concept and first
Word bank.
explain that, yeah, the
Yeah.
words, and we can write it at the side of the board, or maybe we can give them the handout with the difficult words with their meanings. So it will really help them in their learning patterns, and they will be making more understanding on the concept when the teacher is
Exactly.
teaching in the class.
Exactly. I agree with Ms. Priyanshu too. There are a lot of information which you gave, and we used to write in that board important words or key vocabularies or the new words. So the students will come to know as okay, these are the geographical words or any new terms which they will learn everyday process. That is actually powerful framework, Miss. I love how UDL allows flexibility while keep learning objectives. It's very clear.
Yes.
Um, Next, Ms. Atika, for your question, it is, do you agree with that UDL principle can also be reflected in the way we assess ESL learners? Have you seen any overlap in your work?
Actually, it's a very powerful tool for ESL learners because it bridges the cognitive gap also. I have seen teachers building multi-tiered vocabulary glossaries also, in which the basic words, because see, when we talk about writing the words on the side of the board, this is for the whole class, right? But especially for the ESL students or EL learners, we developed a glossary, two to three tier, which we have basic vocabulary to the advanced vocabulary. So writing the words, writing the visuals, and even I feel if a difficult word is written and its meaning is also written, to understand that meaning also some people would need help, especially when we go to the secondary and then the words are more complex. Even those meanings needs help. So these glossaries really help them become independent and less dependent on their teachers. So when they have something to refer to, they can just quickly go through it and refer. And supporting translanguaging is also very important. I feel the first language what we say is, you think in your language, in your mother tongue, and then you translate that to English. So at least the
Right.
concepts are clear, and then also the deeper understanding and language transfer also becomes easier in this way.
So peer
That's
support,
good. That's good.
I feel the peer support is actually more because they are very
Yes,
friendly with
definitely.
their friends, so they
Exactly.
will learn together more.
Yeah. And this image thing is coming up in so many adaptations are being done for this images. So this OCR is also very good when the whole, even if they are given something to read and when they can convert it into PDF and then the OCR. So just have to click
Yes.
on that thing and the image pop up. So they can actually understand what they're reading. And sometimes the whole paragraph can be converted into images. Now we have
Yeah.
apps like Widget. So widget is being
Yes.
used for my sense students in the school. So the whole school has so many visuals. They can understand it's not only for the SEN, but for the ESL. So this widget app is really helping the ESL students.
It's new one was I learned. This is a new application which I learned I can implement with my students because most of the time when we ask them to read, they don't like not everyone is ready. When you show the visualize one, pictures one, or asking something related to that, they will give lot of ideas about that. It's really good.
Yes, and even
Uh yeah,
Pictory.ai,
right, right.
you put in your text and it converts that into a video, and it will give very good visuals. If the prompts are right, I
Yes.
think the visuals are so good that, even the glaciers and volcanoes are explained so well in that. That also can become a very good teaching tool for us.
The recent learners also very interested to that instead of reading, writing, the visuals are very attractive. So the students wants to learn through that a lot. Ms.
Mm.
Antika, again, I will ask you one question related to this. And as you are assessment head, what are the some ways teachers can track the development of academic language in geography for ESL learners? What do you think?
So actually, when we talk about assessment, see, as I said, assessment shouldn't be a tool to measure.
Yeah.
It also should be something which is supporting teaching and learning. It's just not that we're judging. And how the social studies teacher can develop that is by having different forms of assessments. So maybe you can ask in the formative assessments, we can have oral assessment for children of ESL, giving them some accommodations like these and giving them additional support like closed paragraphs or a word bank, which will help them in framing sentences, because we're not judging their language, right? We're judging their conceptual understanding. So supporting them and scaffolding them in these forms in assessments will actually bring up the correct understanding, and we will get the correct assessment of the child of the conceptual understanding.
Also,
That's really
I
insightful. Yes, Mas. Yes, sorry.
would like to add on Ms. Atika's as she has told that various kinds of assessment. Choice board is a good idea that when we
Yes.
are giving them a choice, yes, so they can actually opt a activity or opt a assessment that how they want which activity they wanted to choose is a nice
And
idea
interested
because
in.
we are giving them the options. Now the child is free to opt whatever he or she is comfortable with. So that
Yeah,
the
Mm.
right.
I think for learning, giving them the comfortable zone is more important.
Mm.
That's what we say
That's
is
true.
tracking
That's true.
small wins can win the students. We don't want to write a assessment of writing, reading. Instead of we give the lot
Yes.
of practical as PBL or
Mm.
like many activity for the notebook completion. So you will get a lot of marks. They're also very happy to learn the subject, right?
Yes, yes.
So Ms. Deepa, I'll ask you one question that what according to you the most important thing consider when co-planning language and content objectives in geography?
So, for any learner, co-planning is very important for the teachers.
Yeah.
They should know exactly what they are going to teach and to whom they are going to teach and how they are going to teach that particular concept. So, getting the pre-hand data information is very important. And I always emphasize the teachers to do the lesson planning with the inclusion department, with the ESL teachers, if the ELL teachers are there. Because sometimes what happen, you have the subject knowledge, but you need some ideas and you can help the child in the class. So co-planning is very important, and there are so many things we can help the teachers how to adapt or provide the accommodation to the students. So definitely co-planning plays an important role. For example, in geography, when they come up with any topic and when the co-planning is happening, we can introduce a lot of things to the teachers. Maybe, for example, they're doing certain things and we can tell them, okay, if the child can use a National Geographic virtual effect, we can tell the teachers you can incorporate this particular thing for this particular topic. So when the teachers are doing the co-planning, they know the data of the student, the classroom. They can motivate the students, they can engage the students, and then they can see what was the impact of co-planning in the lessons. So what I feel is co-planning plays a very, very important role in when they are going to teach a particular lesson.
I agree with Ms. Deepa because co-planning is mandatory to when we go to the classes. It's really helpful for us to, okay, that the 1 hour, even 45 minutes, how the class goes according to our well plan. So that
That
is
planning
more
is
important.
not only for running the lesson, but also for the assessments. So now we know whether the child needs a modified assessment, whether the child need extra time, whether the child needs a reader, scriber, whatever they need. So co-planning is very important to see how the child is going to perform after attending a particular lesson.
Yeah, perfect. Next, Ms. Priyanshu, last one. Just tell me one thing that how do you write lesson objectives that support both content mastery and English development for your geography students?
Right. When we talk about the learning objective or the language objective, basically the learning objective should be that what the students is going to learn or what they will be able to do after the class. So we are concentrating on specific geographical skills or a knowledge that this child will gain at the end of the class. And when we are talking about the language objective, like let's take an example, the child will be able to uh, describe or explain or compare using a specific vocabulary keywords or with a proper sentence framing. That matters a lot when we are talking about the content objective or the language objective. So again, we would like to take an example from weather and climate topic where the students will identify. So here are the learning objective will be the students will identify and explain the factors that influence the climate. So the factors which are influencing the climate is latitude, altitude, and ocean currents.
Yeah,
So
right.
basically, these are the factors which we are concentrating about. So here, when we are talking keeping a language objective, so we can keep it like that the student will use the cause and effect. So here I have given a specific thing that what I'm expecting from the student. So I need that when students are learning this lesson, they work on cause and effect. So they will be framing the sentence based on their cause and effect and the vocabulary what they will be using here. Because of this, the climate change is happening, or because of this, or due to this thing, or maybe uh, uh, there is more rainfall and the result of this rainfall is this. So basically we are explaining the climate variations here. So we have given the student that spark that on which they have to work.
It's a brilliant idea, Miss. We'll try. I'll just note it down and that next class I can use in my class.
Yes.
So, Miss
But
Atika,
I feel the learning
yes.
objective also, like the learning objective will be common for the entire class again, right? But breaking that learning objective, maybe one learning objective into two for ESL learners. So the first one will be language centered. And then once they master that language centered objective, they'll move to the conceptual understanding. Because when you gave the example of climate and weather, I had great difficulty in explaining children what is climate and what is weather,
True, true.
irrespective of their language barriers too, even if they are not ESL students, to explain what is climate and what is weather has been a great difficulty for me. So I think breaking down the learning objective further for the ESL students would be a great idea here, also
Yeah.
in addition to what you have given.
No, Ms. Atika, I wanted to add on here that when
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
talking about here, I have given the journal example that this is what
Yeah,
is
yeah.
being, what is content objective here and what is language objective. But when we are going in a class, we have a pre-data of the students where the student on the basis, like, the majority of the students falling in which level. So we are
Hmm.
creating a differentiated objective. So that's how the differentiated objective works here. So basically, because we cannot align all the whole class, the 30 students in a same objective, that at the end of the class, we are expecting this. So here comes
Hmm.
the different levels of the objective, what we are keeping in a mind. And at the end of the class, we want that if the child is at runners, he or she will reach to the speedo. And if they are speedos, they are achieving the objective at the fast track, right? Or we can take it at the Bloom's taxonomy, that according to the Bloom's, if they are at the understanding level, they will reach to the next level.
Next level. Yeah,
Yeah.
that progress is really important. So
Yes.
yes, the differentiation strategy which you have given for the progress is also really great. It was just an additional suggestion to, break
Yeah.
it down further. But I think that was a very great answer. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
It's a
Yeah.
brilliant idea too, to which applicable in future classes.
Yes.
Masatika, again, there's a question for you. How can formative assessment be designed to fairly evaluate both knowledge of geography and use of English language?
So it's a very good question to divide the formative assessments. Like I said earlier, also, and I think Ms. Deepa has also given this in her, that data is really important. If you see the earlier performance of the child, and then you sit and evaluate where this ESL child needs help in, and co-plan with the inclusion department to see there is some kind of progression going on. So if that progression, it might just depend on the child as well, if that progression just looks like understanding the like we said, like we took the example of weather and climate, if that progress look like just understanding the words, understanding the complex words or vocabulary of geography, I think that is also fine for formative assessment for ESL student, right?
Yeah,
And then
right.
when as and when needed, if we feel the child has reached to a certain place, then the accommodations would be different. Then maybe a supporting help box or a closed paragraph is given, to further help. But then it truly depends on where the student stands, evaluating the previous data of the child. We really need to know where he stands or where the ESL child stands to give the formative assessments and to give the accommodations accordingly.
And sometimes we also have, I'm just giving my thing,
Yeah,
progress in attainment. So what I feel is attainment can be low for a child or can remain the same, but progress
Yes.
can be seen. So you don't have to actually worry about the attainment, because you just
Attainment.
have to see the baseline from where the child has begun. So if there is a progress, that is an achievement at the end of the term or end of the
yes,
year. So we don't have to actually look into the attainment of the child, but we should also see the progress. And once the progress
Progress.
can be seen, that's a big achievement for any teacher.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes,
Very
that's a
definitely.
big
truly stated.
achievement.
Yeah,
Right, right.
definitely. As I have given an example, that if the child understood the concept, but if the child is able to apply that concept in the class,
Mm,
that
Yeah.
is the achievement for us. Now
Mm.
means that the progress and attainment, both progress is being shown in the class that the child is able to do. So
But
we
exactly.
are
but a
in
lot of
win-win
time what
situation.
happens is the policymakers and the teachers and the leaders, we get stuck at attainment sometimes. And what Ms.
Mm-hmm.
Deepa has told is very, very true. Where the child was and where it has moved, the progress is everything that we should care about more than the attainment, and got not get stuck at attainment. Okay, child is not
That is inclusive
doing the way.
education. When we talk about inclusive
True.
education, we have to see the progress and not to bother about the attainment.
Yes, correct.
Like here, one more example, that when we are talking about the earthquakes, now here, because we are talking about the progress and attainment, if the child is able to put that's or able to connect in a sequential form, that what is happening first, and then and then the final. So these are the three
Yes,
categories. So in the first, the child knows the concept that it is happening because of the tectonic plates movement. Then what the seismic waves is seismic waves is affecting, how it is affecting, and then he is able to describe the process. So means he or she is in a situation that
Fine.
they are understanding, they are applying.
Correct.
Okay, so right, like many students have the problem of like they will understand, but they cannot able to describe, they cannot able to list, I mean, write in the notebook or the exam papers. It's feel difficult for them. So when it is goes to the practical with writing, like the showing the concept of actual one, the students slowly show their progress. So when our support is also very important, as Ms. Deepa said, as you all said that one. Thank you. Ms. Atika, again, I'll come to you. What other digital platforms or tools do you recommend for formative assessments of ESL learners in geography?
I feel it's a very important question again. Tech-driven classrooms, they themselves have so many. When we talk about Nearpod, maybe which is again a very tech-driven. It's a very nice tool, I think, for visual learners. It has something for everyone, right? For visual learners, and when we have text and everything. So in those, when we have quizzes, when we have I think there are a lot of platforms that nowadays teachers are using, but especially keeping in visuals and the conceptual understanding. I think Neopod has been proven to be a very good one, right? And there are also other tools called Jamboard and Padlets. They're collaborative boards which can be used to help the ESL learners, and especially in formative assessments. I think at the end of the pre-assessment and post-assessment, at the end of the lesson, um, that comparing the pre-assessment and post-assessment, and then bridging the gap, that is also very important when it comes to formative assessment. So when we see that in the pre-assessment, one child has not given a majority of the children have not given correct answer to question B. Right, and in the post assessment, the case remains same, and then you reteach that concept, and again having that assessment, so that multiple assessment, that multiple checkpoints is very important. So Neopods and quizzes are really good tools in making this happen.
Nowadays, we have many AI tools to use it. The students easily can assess of formative assessment, like one words, like quiz, as you said. I recently used
Mm.
one, the Mentimeter. I showed that I display the
Yeah.
map. The map, based on the map, the students are very active. Like normally, the students will not at all answer. So when they display the map, so they are started showing the places. Okay, this is how the places. So Mentimeter shows that variations of that marks, who's been answer first. It displayed. So they were very happy to a part of that. So that's the
Yeah.
only thing, and I want to use the many AI applications in future, definitely. To Ms. Priyanshu,
But instead of
yes, miss.
trying to fit in more and more AI tools, and instead of trying to fit in a lot of activities in your lesson, having one simple thing and then using it effectively to increase the student attainment and progress, that becomes more important. Because nowadays I've seen a lot of teachers, they want to do this and this and this, and then students get confused and end up doing nothing. So using one tool, I think
Yeah,
getting the children get used to it, and then so that it becomes a tool for you, but not a problem for the children, because sometimes they are lost. Okay, one platform to another platform, having simple but effective lessons are important.
yeah, that is also I agree because the students get confused. We also sometimes confuse that what application we are used, how to use it. So right, I understand. I understand. Thank you, Miss. Miss Priyanshu, how do you ensure students are not just consuming digital content passively, but actually engaging with it critically?
Uh, Regarding this, to ensure that the students are really engaged critically with the in this digital world, so I would like to give you certain strategies. I will be explaining them in a detail. Like we can use the graphic organizers, we can use pause and predict strategies. Then again, we can use some digital debate and Padlet boards, and then we can use some inquiry based task. these are the few. There are many, but we can use that, in the journal class, in our daily routine, that what we can use. So let's take an example of the graphic organizers. Like when the students are watching video, so they will simply watch. Now here the teacher's role is a very important role, that we are asking students, or we are before asking them to watch a video, or before we show the video, we are giving them a graphic organizer where we are writing cause, effect, and the possible solution. And then we are asking students to watch the video. So again, the kids are watching video on the climate change. Now they already have the graphic organizer with them. Now in that particular video, suppose that video is explaining that the climate change is happening because of the burning fossil fuel. Let's take an example. Now this is a cause, this is happening. Now what is the effect? Now the student will be thinking critically, and many questions will be coming in his mind, because the teacher has already provided the graphic organizer. Now that it is happening because of the global warming. Now what is a possible solution? Now possible solution is that we can use the solar energy. Now the student is not here passive, but they are thinking critically, because we have given them the task. They are not simply watching the video. Again, going on pause and predict strategy. Like let's take an example of one region, that suppose Southeast Asia is highly populated. And why do you think that the cities which are near the rivers are highly populated? Now again, after the teacher posed this question, you have to ask students, now take a minute and think. Now that thinking time is very important if we really need students to respond. Now here, or they can discuss with their peers also, who is sitting next, the shoulder partner. So when they are discussing this thing, they will come up with the many answers. Here they are applying their geographical knowledge. Again, we can use the same example for the digital debates and the Padlet boards also. We can ask them to post their answers, because that is something a very nicely done, that we are using the digital world. So these are the certain things. And the last one, which I said, it was inquiry based task. Yes. So let's take an example of UAE, or maybe the nearby, that how should our cities prepare for extreme weather, even caused by the climate change? So here the students are using their digital tools to create a proposal. As I said, that being an activity, I have also asked students to create a travel brochure. So in that travel brochure, actually the students have described that how the mushroom rocks are being formed, how the sand dunes are communicating each other, and they are giving the various things that they can attract. So here, these are the something, that when we are giving a spark in the class, and we are not pressurizing the students, but we are keeping our expectations high in the class, that what we are expecting. We know that the students are having a different levels, but the teacher should keep the expectations high from the students, but in a realistic way. The teacher know that which student will achieve what. So I think that spark is needed in the class, and once that spark is there, they will work, because now the kids are very smart. They will work.
Yeah. I do agree with this. That's so important. Like how you said, giving students a purpose while using the digital tools really keeps your learning active. If you're giving a textbook, instead of textbook, the digital tools are very actively, they participate, they work, and all. Like, thank you.
Yeah, basically, when we have to engage the students and we want that they think critically, the graphic organizers or the debates, or when we are showing them a video, giving them that, you have to work on this. After the video, I will be asking certain these questions. I'm expecting these. So at least this will make them alert that what the teacher is expecting. Until we will not share our expectations, they will not work.
Exactly, true. I do agree with this. Next, Ms. Deepa, would you add something, anything that from an inclusion perspective here, especially regarding how digital tools can be more accessible for the learners?
Okay, so what I feel, there are a lot of factors we have to understand about the ESL learner. So I'm coming from a school where we have learners coming from Vietnam, from China, from Russia, different parts of Russia, Arab world. So first of all, we have to understand their culture. We have to understand from which background they are coming. So sometimes it is very challenging for me also to understand how to explain it to them. And then I have to spend some time to understand their language and their. Sometimes I'm just using a translator to talk to them because even I don't know their language and they cannot understand. So that emotional aspects plays an important role for any learning. So first of all, I make sure that the teachers have to understand from the culture background of the child. Once the teacher knows the culture of the child, from where they are coming up and from where they're coming. So once the rapport is built up between the teacher and the child, definitely learning will start from that particular point. So when you're teaching a topic, whatever topic you're teaching, you have to understand if the child is coming from that particular background, if they have ever seen rainfall, or if they know what is rainfall, or maybe they're from a desert land, they don't know. So all these factors you have to understand before planning a lesson. Now the digital tools plays an important role, and actually the teachers are blessed that we can teach them with so many things. I just want the teachers to be aware of the so many digital app. For example, recently we have started using Learning Village. So learn in Learning Village app, what happens? The instructions are also given through the images. So if the child learns through images, the instructions are given. So they know what the teacher is asking, because sometimes what happens, a child coming from Vietnam, they don't know what they're talking about. They're totally confused. They are lost. So first of all, we have to go slow with them. We have to understand what they will understand. So this Learning Village app is very, very good, and I many times I recommend the school to, because the apps are very expensive these days. So even if you can buy the app for small number of students, and it can be helped, because in this Learning Village app, it is according to the year levels also. So there are stages of learning in that particular. So they know that, okay, some basic vocabulary they know, maybe they know how to wish a child or how to communicate, but then they do a baseline assessment, and then based on that they put the child, whether if the child will go in village. There are three stages, like village, and then island, and then community. So they put the child in, and then you can use different topics to teach them, whether it's English, maths, geography, whatever you're teaching, you can use this particular thing. The other thing which I feel is a widget, which is now used in most of the schools. So this widget app is so good that I can see now students, not only the ESL, but the students, pre-verbal students, the students
Mm.
under neurodivergent, they also know how to communicate. That picture communication is helping them a lot. So these digital apps are available, and we should try using it. We should not be hesitating that if the child, how the classroom is going to look. But then if you are using these apps, you can show the differentiation in your classroom, and then it shows that, okay, your class is engaged, the students are motivated, they are learning. So definitely these tools are playing an important role in any of the lessons.
That's really insightful. There are a lot. Ms. Atika, you want to say something about this?
No, I think yes. Giving these help for these ASL students, yes. And like I said earlier, but sticking to one platform and not changing it frequently, because this is the challenge which I faced with a lot of my teachers. And maybe when the teacher changes, some teacher is comfortable with some other app, and other teachers gets comfortable with something else, and children actually, try find it really hard to juggle between them. So yes, find one thing which suits your subject, which you love, which you think is engaging, and then stick to it for at least a period of time, so that children get used to it, rather than just changing your platforms every day to be innovative, but then it ends up messing up your lesson.
But what I feel, I think I just want to say, not what you love, what your students love, what your students
Yes,
can
what
engage.
your
It
students
should
love.
always be a child-driven class, what they know. So
Yes,
student-driven class should be there. Because what I have feel, it's not about a particular thing, but I know that many teachers are also not flexible. They are just teaching a particular group which knows the concept or where they can show the progress. And what happens
very
is
true.
the students with ESL, EL, SODs, they are just neglected
Neglected.
in the classroom. They are put with the
Yes.
LSAs, they are put with the teacher assistant, but the ownership of learning is not there with the teachers, and this is where we are struggling. So if you see in Dubai, especially if you see the inspection framework and all, it is more mainly when the student is pulled out from a class with a specialist, they show a lot of progress. But when they have the push-ins, the progress is not shown because they are neglected. So the teachers should understand the level of the child, the baseline, the data, differentiation. This plays an important role in any child's life.
True,
Definitely.
true. I 100% agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Please
would
go
like
ahead,
to
Miss
add
Priya.
on here that when we have a data and we are assigning the differentiated objectives for the particular topic, so we can plan accordingly, because now when the child is, we know that the child is having a particular learning disability, so we can work accordingly, because even in the when we talk about the disabilities, uh, maybe the child is not able to cope up with the new vocabulary, so the certain kind of worksheet can be given. And here, you know that the inclusion department is playing a very great,
It's a
I
role.
can say they are playing very well, that at least they are helping our teachers to understand that where the child is lacking. And
Mm-hmm.
we have to just, what we have to do, that we have to just pick that thing, that okay, this child is having this difficulty and we have to work on it. If the teacher wants, and we are vigilant, and we are aware with the IEPs, we can easily make a difference in a class with the sent child as well.
Definitely, definitely. So it's not only about learning disability,
Yes,
emotional stability,
yes.
the background of the child, what they are going through. So all these plays an important role. And when once the teacher plays a very important role in anyone's life. So whether it's the attendance, if the child is not coming and the teacher goes and asks why the child. So all these small things plays an important role in the learning and for any child, I feel.
Yeah, I would like to give another example. Miss Deepa must be aware that the one child I was teaching for past 2 years, third year, uh, instantly that there was another teacher being assigned for the geography. That child refused. The school has to change the section and they has to put in my section, because the child was more comfortable with me. And
Mm.
you know that student and teacher bonding was there, that okay,
Yeah,
no, the Priyanshu ma'am used to teach me like this.
yeah.
The child was not ready to sit, I will not disclose the name, but the child was not ready to sit in any other classroom. So that's how, you
Definitely.
know, that bonding is
The
also
rapport
needed.
really, and I think we have very handful teachers like you, Priyanshu, but I think we should have a culture where we are inclusive and where if the community classroom teachers, everyone is included. If once the child is interested, motivated, they will definitely show progress.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one thing is there,
I
that they will be giving, sorry, Miss Atika.
no, no, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, one thing is definite, that they will be giving us a trouble. They will not come finish the notebook work. They will not. But yes, there are certain ways that how I used to deal with him. I used to give him all the Xerox, but the child was able to learn and he was able to apply all the concepts during the exam time. So that's
Yeah.
how he or she needs the support. Only the little support will make a difference in their life.
Definitely,
Correct.
Very
definitely.
true, very true.
Now we looked at how helpful it is. There is no doubt. Of course, the personalized attention, giving one-on-one attention is really important and really helpful for the child. But let us look at the barriers also. First things, teachers are not equipped to understand these kinds of this kind of children. They are not equipped enough to give them the what do we say, accommodations. Yeah, so I think teacher training also plays a very important role here. bringing in teachers to sit before a session, maybe to, educate
Induction
them.
is very important for the teachers. Teachers training is CPDs are very important, done by the inclusion department, done by the ESL experts. Not only the inclusion department, but the ESL experts should be there. And at the top, the school management plays an important role in training of the teachers. How much time they are getting, time for planning. All these plays an important role for students.
Miss Satika,
That, and also I think the teacher workload is so much. Even I have met teachers, and I have my teachers here who says, ma'am, we want to do, but we are not having enough time to do that. There are some teachers who are willing to give that attention, who are willing to do that, but still they are so bound with workload, maybe corrections, and then I'm not able to do that. So some kind of policy makers should understand that this class, with maybe the class which is having more number of ESLs, need more attention, and the teacher should be given some time to plan accordingly. That also is a second barrier, I feel, which is a very important factor.
I would like to
Yes.
give one solution, that instead of changing teachers next, because usually when it is a special need child, the teacher need an year to understand. The moment the teacher will understand that what child is exactly expecting, it's a time for the new session. So I think that the same teacher should be kept, so that the teacher has already struggled and understand the concept that how to help a child. And if the same teacher is being assigned, it will be more useful. This is my perception, because
No, Priyanshu, but then we have to make them understand that the changes will happen. No
yeah,
teacher can stay. Not there are so many that they have to adapt to these changes. The teachers, the students, the parents, they have to adapt to these things. And now I think this ESL is going towards more of a student of determination. So, but I think ESL students are not that challenging. Once they get to know about the vocabulary, they know the things. It's actually not challenging as challenging as student of
SOD,
determination.
yes, definitely. Yeah, we were shifting our paths, but then again, I think maybe I am a geography teacher. I might not know how to teach vocabulary, how to teach phonics in a way that ESL children will be help. I will be helping ESL children. So that training also, that equipping teachers with these kind of training to help them teach phonics, to help them teach vocabulary. A geography teacher getting to know how to teach vocabulary and phonics will help the ESL children in long run, right?
No, as Miss Deepa is from inclusion department, I think if the teacher know how to read the IEPs, the teacher can help out, because that's where the inclusion department is working for. They are actually helping teachers.
Yeah, so
Creating
it
the
plays an
learning
important
barriers.
role. The HODs plays an important role. The key stage heads plays an important role. So, who are monitoring the teachers, whether the IP, because IPs are developed, the teachers are provided with the IPs, but then again, the IPs are not used in the classes. So these are the struggles which we are facing in every day. So somebody should be
Teachers
taking up
not
the
implement.
responsibility of that. So, and yes, whatever the workload is, whatever the thing is, instead of focusing on the good learners, we should pay more attention to the learners who are having challenges.
Right.
That's
Like there are a lot of information our teachers given. I have one personal experience, as Ms. Deepa said. For the teachers, induction is mandatory. It's needed. If you join in between, and it will be a problem. It's because the students and the teachers has to have the emotional connection. First, they have to connect. Then only the students are shows interest, and we also feel like, okay, I want to teach this class again, and I want to clear the concept again, or whatever it may be. We need a connection. It's like beginning of a month when we join, and it will take 2 months to adopt the students. At least minimum we need a month to know each other better. Then only the students will be very comfortable. Then they started learning from you, learning from us, and as well as that, they connected with you. Okay, I want to learn the subjects more. So that's more important. Sometimes if I had experience that I have joined in between once, like first year, so it's quite difficult for me to understand the students, and it took a lot of time, like almost 3 months to adopt. So it's kind of quite have an experience
Induction
for that.
plays an important role. So the
Yeah,
management has
yeah,
to really
no
focus
doubt.
on how they're doing the induction for the teachers.
I do
No
agree,
doubt.
Miss. I experienced this one. So personally, I have experienced this. So your teachers gave a lot of explanations and a lot of information. I have learned many things. Before we wrap up, just a quick one. So can each one of you share one small thing as a teacher can try tomorrow to make a geography more accessible to ESL students? Just give me one thing.
Shall I?
Yeah, anyway, yeah.
You
It's
are a
Priyanshu.
geography teacher, better you start.
Yeah,
I usually, what I do in my class, that when I feel that the geographical concept is more text heavy, so I divide them into the chunks. So I usually divide the whole concept in 3 to 4 chunks, and the students are able to understand. Also giving them the more hands-on activity, like they can create a report on particular thing, or they can do a little bit of more research work, the depth one, and making them understand, or giving them the handouts, uh, not from the textbook, but in a more easier language, where the concept is being divided into from simple to complex. This helps a lot. And giving them, as I said in the beginning, that giving them the new vocabulary in the class plays a major role. It's a game changer. If you start doing that things in a class, it's a game changer for any class. You will see that even the low achievers will at least reach to the average.
right. I do agree. Ms. Atika, you want to share something?
I think a lot of teachers who are here with us will also agree with Miss Priya. That is really nice to give the scaffolding. And in terms of assessments, I think what Miss Deepa has also emphasized on is knowing your data, knowing your class. I think that is the one thing which will really change any teacher's lesson plan and really change the lesson. If you actually look at the data and see that maybe the cat4 scores also plays an important role here. Even if the child is ESL learner, what kind of what pedagogy he understands better, what are his cognitive strengths, or his or her cognitive strengths also plays an important role here. So according to as per the cat4 results and the internal assessment, driving to a conclusion of what task should be given to the child and how assessments can be taken for a particular child, that will be really impactful for the teachers to apply in future.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Ms. Deepa, you have anything to share with us?
Yeah. Yes, same thing what Atika is saying. Know your class well. Know the ability of the child. Every child has a potential. Make sure that the child, if you know the baseline of the child, from that you can start working. Let them be the explorers in the classroom. Let them explore things because they are young minds. Give them the opportunity to look for things, what kind of learner they are. But if they are exploring things hands on, they will learn more. So the concept will be more clear to them when they explore things on their own, whether they go on Google or whether they go, and let them use these technologies. This is a tech savvy generation. We cannot stop them. We can't ask them to read and read. So let
Right.
them explore, let them do things, let it be a student led classroom.
The one more thing I
Right.
would like to add on here, that in the early years, not when the child is in the middle school, or in the early years, like in KG1, KG2, grade 1, grade 2, we can have a geography talk, 1 or 2 minutes weekly, where they are using some geographical science, and they are explaining something. It enhance their vocabulary.
Definitely.
Yes. So actually they will come up with their own idea, that what they think about that how let's that explain the today's weather in your city. So they will be using many geographical concepts to explain that, although it will be in a easier language, what they feel it is comfortable, but it is a nice idea to introduce the new concept and to
Yeah, it's a
make them
brilliant idea,
more
actually.
connected with the
One
geography.
one more thing. Please always all teachers should remember that celebrate even the smallest achievement
Yes.
of a child.
Yes,
That boosts the
yes.
confidence and then they will always be interested to come back and learn the topic. So please
Yeah.
celebrate their smallest achievement in the classroom.
Yeah,
Sure, ma'am, sure.
true.
Okay, we'll wind up. Like before that, has truly been a rich and inspiring discussion. I sincerely thank our panelists, Ms. Deepa and Ms. Priyanshu and Ms. Atika, for their insightful contribution and real classroom wisdom. Personally, I'm working away with so many new strategies from sentence frames to digital tools that I can't wait to try with my learners. I hope everyone watching the feels equally empowered. Today reminded us that accessibility in geography is not about lowering expectations, but about the rising level of support. So every learner can reach their potential. Thank you once again for being a part of this meaningful conversation. Let's keep sharing, learning, growing together as educators. Wishing you all the lovely evening. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you so
Thank you, ma'am.
much.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I do enjoy it a lot. Thank you so much for joining with us.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.